everyone, and welcome to Season 4, Episode 4 of Pro Wrestling's Top 50. I'm your host, Travis McNeil, and today we continue our countdown of the top 50 matches in Lucha Underground history with match number 47 on our list, which is the Mask vs. Mask match between Son of Havoc and Killshot from the October 31st, 2018 edition of Lucha Underground, which was Ultima Lucha Cuatro Part 1. It's kind of funny, in the introduction to this season, I talked about the 4 seasons of Lucha Underground and how the 4th season, overall wasn't great, but yet 3 out of our first 4 episodes, we focused on matches not only from Season 4, but from Ultima Lucha of Season 4. So even though the season at large, mostly disappointed with expectations, that I personally had from the previous 3 seasons being placed upon it, a lot of decisions made that I didn't agree with and so on and so forth, there was still, a smattering of really high quality matches that made this list, and it all built to a really great conclusion for the 2 episodes that were Ultima Lucha. Mask versus mask, mask versus hair, any sort of lucha de apuesta. This was a device that Lucha Underground had used in pretty much all of their seasons, so season 4 was no different. We have 2 masked individuals, of course. We have Son of Havoc, which is the journeyman, M-Dog 20, Matt Cross, whatever you want to call him. This man's seen it all, from the late 90s, coming up through backyard wrestling in the Cleveland scene, to, being on the independents, getting, many different opportunities to show his stuff, appearing famously on WWE's Tough Enough, revitalization, where, a viral clip of Steve Austin kicking him off the show and, Matt saying, I could do so many things in this ring right now that would blow your mind, but he didn't get the opportunity to show them, while he's basically in there with a whole bunch of inexperienced, rookies or people that had never competed in a professional wrestling match before. So, he's been doing his thing for a really long time and never really got the fame from it, despite popping up in pretty much every organization, there is. But Lucha Underground, they really made him a star. They put him under a mask. They gave him this, kind of crummy biker character. But just through sheer force of will and, working his tail off, he got really over with that audience and became one of the more prominent characters on the program. Killshot is Shane Strickland. You might know him now as Isaiah Swerve Scott in NXT. This was another time, this character really turned the corner from him. He had been on the independents primarily in CZW. He became the Masked Killshot in Lucha Underground. It really brought him up to another level, and ultimately he would parlay this into a run in Evolve, where he would kind of shockingly become the Evolve champion and later lead to his WWE, debut and run there. He's been North American champion in NXT and has been quite successful, which is great because he is a top-notch talent. So our story here that set up this mask versus mask match was really well done. We have trios championships in Lucha Underground. We haven't talked about that much yet, but rather than tag team titles, Lucha Promotion, they went a different route with the trios titles. The first trios champions were the team of Son of Havoc, Angelico, and Ivelisse. They were put together as a mixed match team that didn't get along, that eventually, again, just through working hard at their differences, were able to gel and be incredibly successful first champions. At the end of Season 3 of Lucha Underground at Ultima Lucha, we saw new trios champions crowned once again with 3 unlikely allies one more time. We had the Mac, we had Killshot, and we had Dante Fox, who was played by AR Fox, who had been embroiled in a bitter rivalry with Killshot. They competed in a Hell of War match that was one of the most brutal matches ever shown on television, and followed that up with being forced to team and winning the trios titles. As Season 4 of Lucha Underground started, for whatever reason, Dante Fox was nowhere to be found, wanting to carry out the storyline. They subbed him in by substituting Son of Havoc into the trio, and basically it added a kind of a neat little wrinkle where, the Mac and Killshot and Son of Havoc weren't getting along, but because Son of Havoc had, went through this entire process before and had seen it ultimately worked, he had that optimism and tried to be the glue that would bring his team together. Unfortunately, it wouldn't end up working. They would lose the trios titles to the Reptile Tribe. They would completely fall apart, and the rivalry between Son of Havoc and Killshot would escalate. We would have masks being stolen. Killshot would choke out Son of Havoc with his dog tags that he would wear, from his military background story that his character had. And eventually we got this mask versus mask match. These two, they main evented night one of Ultima Lucha Cuatro, and they went all out. This match has so many high-risk, crazy moves. They just go, balls to the wall for the entire duration of the match, and they produce something super fun and really special with a great ending as well. So we get all sorts of cool spots from these guys. Son of Havoc hits a really early Sasuke special. He does a variation on the lethal injection, but instead of, a handspring off the ropes, he would, kind of bounce off his neck into the ropes and rebound, kind of like Los Luchas used to do, Phoenix Star and Zocre, if you're an old SoCal fan. He went for that, and Shane Strickland caught him in a gory special and turned that into a go to sleep, and then hit the swerve stomp, right? The big top rope double stomp for 2. So they, worked at a very quick clip to start, but then we go into just the insane spots. A brawl on the floor leads to Son of Havoc doing a wild dive from a balcony above the exit onto Killshot through a table that looked insane. Killshot brought a stretcher into the ring, which might seem a little random, but that was a pivotal point in his Hell of War match with Dante Fox at Ultima Lucha 3. So it was a callback to that feud, and Killshot knowing, that stretcher is ultimately what led to him vanquishing his rival and getting the biggest win of his career, and that he would put it to use again. We get big spots involving that stretcher. Matt Cross hits a Death Valley Driver from the top and a Shooting Star Press for 2. He goes for a Shooting Star Press with Killshot lied across the gurney, but that is blocked, and we get a superplex from the top onto the stretcher. Son of Havoc takes a wild bump just bouncing off of it. It looks brutal. Killshot follows up again with the swerve stomp, hits the JML driver, the Storm Cradle driver variant that he does. It's still not enough. These guys are going insane on each other to get the win, neither one wanting to give up their mask, which of course shows the importance that the masks carry in Lucha Libre. We get, a strike exchange as things break down. Cross finally hits that, variation on the lethal injection, busts out a pile driver on top of the stretcher, which I loved so much because it was unexpected. That's not a move he routinely uses, but he was going old school. He was going Memphis, to finish his rival and finish the feud. And our finish was great, where he this time straps Killshot to the stretcher, putting him in place on the gurney. This time he's able to hit the Shooting Star with Killshot unable to move. Very similar to, an angle between Billy Kidman and Paul London. If we go back to our 2004 WWE, where they, feuded around the Shooting Star Press, and Kidman, gave London one while he was strapped onto a gurney. So they borrowed from that. And Paul London being a part of Lucha Underground, I don't know if that was part of his influence or what, but it was a great, great finish. Our post-match angle here is really great too, because obviously we got the unmasking, but in a bit of a twist, it's not Son of Havoc taking off the mask of Killshot. Killshot actually unmasks himself and hands the mask over to Son of Havoc, which in a way might seem a little unfulfilling. You kind of look for that visual of the face taking the mask off the heel. But in storylines, this makes perfect sense, and it was rewarding for the long-term Lucha Underground viewer. The story being that Killshot was forced to wear that mask because he couldn't live with the shame that he had in abandoning, his military team that he had been with. So he went AWOL, went on the run, wore the mask to hide his identity and also hide his face, because he knows with that face comes the immense shame of the grief that he caused. This was Shane Strickland finally being able to let go, to hand over the mask, and to reveal his face once again. And we get an awesome post-match cinematic, little video to tie this all together when Dante Fox shows up once again. They'd actually brought him in for the taping, and he had wrestled in a Gift of the Gods match the week prior to this, and I kind of wish he didn't. I love AR Fox. I think he's one of the most underrated independent wrestlers, you know, of this generation. So I would never complain with seeing him in a match, but I think it would have made this post-match video seem all the more, you know, shocking if he didn't appear in that match. But anyways, Fox shows up. He's in full, you know, military, I don't really know military grading, but, you know, we'll say like colonel gear. And, you know, he confronts Killshot. At this point, you know, Shane Strickland, we know it's him. They didn't change his name. They, you know, explained that it was Shane Strickland. And it leads to Fox finally dismissing Shane Strickland from active duty, as well as explaining his absence at the start of the season by saying, you know, he was on a mission that he couldn't refuse. So great little tie-in. We get a nice little salute to put a rest to their feud once and for all, and to wrap up, you know, Killshot's time in Lucha Underground. And had this series continued, you know, this undoubtedly would have been his exit from the promotion to lead him on to Evolve and eventually the WWE. This match is so much fun, though. It's a big time, you know, finish to a great grudge that they built up all season long. Very fitting of main eventing the first night of Ultima Lucha, and very much worth your time. Of course, Lucha Underground, you can Google it, find out where you can watch it. It's all over the place if you check. You can subscribe to my channel here on YouTube so that you don't miss a video. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Wrestling50, and please join me again tomorrow as we continue to count down Pro Wrestling's Top 50. Top 50.